Mm-mm-mm-mm. We're ready. Okay. Lots of like sudden movements as we get our lives together. All right. I think Facebook is thinking about it. Let me put the title in the gram. All right. Welcome to today's episode of Day to Day with Elevate. We're getting our lives together over here. Nice to meet me. That's the title, aka nice to meet you. Nice to meet yourself. I have lots and lots of notes today, but we are going to keep it short, sweet, to the point. Hello, Shine TT. Yes, welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. Another day here at the Elevate Collective and our little side hustle over here, Elevate Her. Hey, so look, I am Dorothy Enriquez. I'm the CEO and principal consultant at the Elevate Collective. And we've got this epic subdivision called Elevate Her that centers Black women and their leadership journey right where it should be, right at the center, always the topic of conversation. So, listen, I have been in the learning and development, leadership development, training and development, all things learning, growth for over 15 years, closer to 17. But what I have realized in the last 2-ish years, so since going full time, what I have realized is that the founding fathers did not have people who look like me in mind when they developed those concepts, those theories, the tools. They did not only did they not calculate for how women ascend into leadership, but they absolutely did not calculate for women of color, let alone Black women. They just didn't. Hi, Teresa. Oh, shoulder roll. Welcome to the show. Hey, Facebook. I see you. So they just didn't have us in mind. And it just feels like there's not enough content that really centers us and our leadership journey. So I thought, if not me, then who? So let's get into it, right? So, what I want you to do as we get ready to jump into this brief chitter chat together, nice to meet you, sis. Nice to meet you. Is go ahead and share this video with a friend or at them so that they can come and join the chitter chat so that y'all can continue dialoguing even after we pop off here. Hey, Forever Change Consulting. That's my publicist, y'all. She's gonna have me out here, right? So that we could be out here, blackety black, 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 even when it's not Black History Month. So look, I wanted you to invite someone over so that we could all hang out together and have this chat around this concept of nice to meet me, aka nice to meet you and you. But really, what that means is nice to meet yourself. And this week, we've been talking about this whole concept of like, know thyself. Get to know you a little bit better so that as you go to work and slay, right? As you go to work and shine, and as you go to work and make a conscious decision not to dim your light, what does that look like? What do we have to do? And is it really important for us to know ourselves? And the answer is a resounding yes, 100%, absolutely. And you know what? As we begin to like uncover this and peel back some of the layers, you know what comes to mind for me personally is the fact that I could work with people at work who didn't look like me, and it just didn't feel like they needed to be as aware as I did, right? It when you think about this from a diversity and inclusion lens, right? It's like for us, we got to triple check, cross check, dot T's, well, cross T's and dot I's. But then other people, it's like they can say and do anything. And the repercussions, if there are any, look wildly different, right? I think about the time that a colleague of mine made like a $60,000 mistake and it appeared like nothing happened. But then I made a $6,000 mistake and there was hell to pay. And I just thought to myself at that time, as the manager I had at the time, uh, as Karen was ripping me a new one, I just thought to myself, but when Susie did something far worse, 10 times worse, right? To be sure, it just looked different, right? We have to be aware and alert at all times. No room for human error. That. And I just thought to myself, well, why I gotta do all this work? Why I gotta be like 10 times as good to get half the accolades, to even be noticed or to be taken halfway seriously. But see, you know what it did? It caused me to not bring all of Dorothy to work. And that had a negative impact on my ability to really do what I do. Like, I'm really good at what I do. And at work, at these various companies that I gifted my leadership to over the years, sometimes I did good work, sometimes I did great work. But there were so many occasions, so many opportunities to do phenomenal work. But because there were so many things, seen and unseen, getting in my effing way, I couldn't really bring it, right? And part of this was my own lack of self awareness. I was fighting against something. For me at the time, it was totally invisible. I didn't know what the issue was. I just would see Susie do something worse, but like if I did something even a quarter similar, it's like, well, Dorothy, do you not know how to do your job? These are actual words that bosses have said to me. Do you need to look at your job description? Are you sure this is the right company for you to work at? And I literally recall various times in my career wanting to tip over the damn desk with all the papers on it and like set the place on fire. But, and I never did, right? I never tipped over the desk. Like, those things happen at work, but not as often as people would think, right? So they don't happen that much. And I never did any of those things. I would just be upset and frustrated and just be like, why is this my life right now? But this is when it comes into play that we have to look at ourselves and essentially almost do a SWOT analysis, right? Personally, professionally, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my areas of opportunity? And what are my threats? And not solely based on what the company said to you. That can't always be the only place where we gather perspective. It's so important for us to establish our tribe and a group of lady leaders and gentlemen allies who are going to help us see ourselves in a holistic perspective so that we could say, like, oh, you've been working with me for the past 2, 3 years. I really value your opinion. What do you think? Because if we solely base it off of our crazy freaking experiences that don't always represent how we can show up, our SWOT analysis is going to be wrong, right? It's going to be super wrong, and we're going to be working on things that we don't need to be working on. You were thoughtful. I wanted to lay hands until someone screamed mercy. Look, girl, listen. I just, some of the things that I feel like bosses who were not people of color, right? Some of the things that some of these bosses said to me, even to this day, it'll blow my hair right off, blow the hat off, earrings off, edges off. Like, I cannot believe some of the things that people have said to me. I cannot believe some of the things that some of my clients in their coaching sessions have shared that leaders have said to them. It is just, from a D&I standpoint, when we think about living in a white supremacist society, there is this whole element that anything can be said and anything goes if you are not a person of color. And that is the society in which we live and operate in. And that is, if anything, uncomfortable as hell at best. And so when we are working in a space where that's part of how the fabric is interwoven, of course it's going to be a hot mess. But the idea that we feel like, well, I don't have to do my work because Karen doesn't have to do hers. False, right? When we decide to take that approach of I don't have to do it because she doesn't have to, we are essentially chaining ourselves to the wall and saying, like, well, this is as far as I'm going to go. We have to figure out how we can not just function in a system that's pretty messed up, but how can we thrive and still be ourselves in this messy, unpredictable system. So, one of the things that I think is important for us to explore as we get our sea legs and figure out How do I move in this space so that I can be heard? We can't lead if we're not heard. We cannot lead if we're silent. We cannot lead if we just hope that our attitude will let people know that we're feeling a little like say something else. Say something else. That's not how we get results at work. And yes, I know that we feel that way and sometimes we go to work that way, but that's not that whole know thyself, sis. That ain't it. That's not what we need to be doing. So we have to take a step back and we know that the rules are different, right? We already know. We know the rules are different. We know that it is not level. We know in many instances it's not equitable, but okay, now that we know that, what we going to do next? The first piece that we need to get together is confidence, and not just confidence by itself. We're going to need two other pieces to go with it, right? We need It's like a confidence sandwich. And so we've got confidence on the outsides, but inside the sandwich, we got meat and vegetables. The meat is going to be the self worth, the vegetables is going to be the self efficacy. We need all three pieces if we're not simply going to survive corporate. It was not built with us in. And even then, it depends on who built it. Who's on the board? Are there people on the board who look like you? Who's in the C suite? Are there people in the C suite who look like you? Because if they're not, it probably wasn't built with you in mind. I mean, this is just the world we live in. So, how do we get ourselves in a spot where we are operating from a place of knowing? Do you know how many times I had bosses tell me like my work wasn't good enough? I mean, I could sit here and wait a lot. And now that I work for myself and I have multiple clients and work with multiple organizations, big, small, for profit, nonprofit, small business, I have yet to have a client that is as agitated, as much of a PETA, as disgusted with me as some of these bosses that I had in my previous life as a corporate citizen. My clients who are now my bosses, right? Now I have a million bosses. They're like, "Wow, this is so incredible. Wow, I didn't think about it like this. Wow, I love the way that you are approaching this. Wow, this is really applicable. Wow, this is," and some of it is the same stuff, same type of recommendation, same type of whatever that I lifted up in corporate, and they'd be like, "Pish posh, what is this nonsense? Barf, you're incompetent." You could take that same brain of yours and go put it somewhere else, and all of a sudden it's beautiful. My point being, we can't always listen to everything that has been told to us by our job. We have to find creative ways to get the full picture. This is why white people, low key, are counting on people of color, especially black people, specifically black women. They're counting on us not investing in ourselves. They're counting on us relying on the organization for us to develop ourselves. I promise you, most companies invest about 1,500 per employee, and that's on the larger companies. So smaller companies invest even less, and they are banking on the fact that people who look like me are going to be like, "Well, I'm not paying that money to get a coach. Hell no. I'm not paying that money to take that class. Hell no, no, I'm not doing that. If my company's not paying for it, I'm not doing it." They're banking on that. You know why? Because that's not what they do. Everybody else on the planet knows you invest more in yourself than you do in your job, because you will leave that job. That job will still be there. Somebody else will fill that spot, but you will leave, and you got to be as equipped as possible. Listen, Minda Harts talks about it in the memo about how often black women and women of color do not get a coach because they don't know. And then the rest of us do not want to spend the money because it ain't cheap, right? But this idea that we got to get our confidence together, along with we got to have the whole sandwich. We need the confidence, we need the self worth, we need the self efficacy. All of these pieces together so that when we get to work and people try you, you will not be moved. You will not be moved. You will know truly what's true about you, right? What you bring to the table, what your skills are, what your knowledge base is. You know how to do what you do. You also though, you also are aware of what your areas of opportunity are. You know you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I got coaches, y'all, because I be all over the place. But at the end of the day, it's so important that we do this self awareness work to uncover who we are, because it will be a journey that we're going to go on for the rest of our lives. We will be learning about ourselves. Nice to meet you. We'll be learning about ourselves forever, right? We're always evolving, growing, and changing. But what can you do to learn as much about you as possible? What's true about you? What's true about Teresa? What's true about Tracy? What's true about Tamika? So that when your company comes up and through here with that capitalistic white supremacist attitude, you're like, okay, I appreciate your feedback. These pieces are useful. These pieces are trash. Thank you. I will make a plan and figure out how to move forward to be able to operate in the system. Because you're not going to stay there forever. I don't care what company you're at. You're not going to stay there forever. For what? Right? Your leadership is portable and it goes everywhere that you do. And so, this journey that you go on to knowing you, meeting you, and being able to be honest with you, it's the game changer, right? Because what we know to be true, no one can take that from us. Nobody, right? And it's important for us to get really clear on that, because it's very easy to go from organization to organization and maybe be, thinking about starting a side hustle or thinking about starting a business full time. But that whole piece around, well, who am I? What value do I bring? What knowledge, skills, and abilities do I bring? Being really clear on that is going to be important so that we're not tilted one way or another that is askew and incorrect. I think it's so important that we don't always feel like everything has to be inward. We always want to look inward, but sometimes when we look inward and look up here, it's messy up there. It's scary in there. Sometimes we need to look outside, right? Which is why we pull some of the people that we love or people that we trust or people whose opinion and coaching and mentorship we value, and we ask them, right? How am I showing up? And we do this personal SWOT analysis that includes the professional piece so that we can figure out, as we continue to construct this career, where we are able to obtain, maintain, and wield power. We're essentially making sure that we're set up for success, because people are going to try to shoot you down, right? They want to knock you down a couple pegs. But how can we create this space where we show up almost like Teflon, right? Where we can synthesize what's coming in and process what we're going to accept and what we're going to move to the side and say, that wasn't for me. I don't know who you were talking to, but that piece wasn't for me. Look, Teresa said a coworker made a $500,000 mistake. It was, well, XYZ. And I feel like there's this double standard. And because we see this happening every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year, I think these things can take us out of ourselves and make us show up in a way where we're not being true to ourselves. And it also messes with our confidence, right? That self-efficacy, that deep sense of knowing that we got this and that we can conquer anything that might be coming our way. Because here's what we know about confidence. If our confidence is where it's supposed to be, right? We want to keep our confidence in a great spot. Not overconfident, not confident enough, but we're good. It impacts a couple things. It impacts our ability to solve problems. It impacts our ability to make decisions, coach others, coach ourselves sometimes, and communicate. So if we know that, and we know that confidence tends to go up and down, how can we set ourselves up for success where we can show up empowered, unapologetic, bold, and daring, right? Where we can be brave at work, because I think going to work every day requires some level of bravery. And so we have to make sure that our self-worth is intact. I feel like work is very good at nipping away at that over time. And we have to make sure that we don't get all jumbled up in the process as if we're getting tumbled in a dryer, right? Because I feel like corporate feels like that sometimes. What can we do to make sure that under pressure and self-criticism and shame, that we can still have our confidence, our self-worth, and our self-efficacy intact. You got to know yourself so that you can lead from your true self instead of leading from who you think people want you to be. That's confusing for them, right? Especially because we're already different. We don't want to confuse people, let alone confuse ourselves. We want to make sure that we tie whatever it is that makes us us back into our personal mission, our personal vision, our purpose, our calling, and find ways to make sure that those things align. So, do we have to know ourselves? Yes. Is there a price that we pay when we choose to not do that work? Hell yeah. Is there a price that we pay when we only listen to what has been told to us by our companies? Yes. You have to try to find a way to get a holistic 360 view of you. Nice to meet you. You're amazing. You are incredible and smart and capable and competent and confident. So what you got to do, right? You know you need to get to know you a little bit better, and that will help other people get to know you as well. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to purchase your very own, there's never been a better time to be a lady leader than right now. I want you to purchase your notebook so that you can start taking notes and documenting your journey along the way and what your next steps are going to be. You can also use that notebook to put your SWOT analysis in there. And then that's something that you can do maybe twice a year as you figure out what these next steps are going to be as you continue to meet you, as you continue to look at yourself, right? Self-awareness, know thyself. All right, then I want you to make sure that you share this video with another lady leader, another gal pal, so that y'all can chitter chat about it. And I want you to make sure that you stay tuned with all things Elevate Her and Day to Day with Elevate. We are still, figuring out all the details, but while we're figuring it out, we're still here to hang out and spend some quality time together. And if there's ever a topic that you want me to cover, let me know. We're actually working on transforming the Facebook page. So the private Facebook page right now is Lashes and Leadership. That was from our TCS days. And we're going to be transitioning over to the Elevated Life. So exciting. So that's all I have for you today. Share this video. Let me pose for you. So you don't have me out here like, watch this video with this girl. And they're like, what's wrong with her? All right, that's all I have for y'all today. I trust that this was helpful. I trust that you feel just a little bit more dialed in and equipped and optimized to do what? To lead from every seat you sit in. I'm Dorothy Enriquez, CEO and Principal Consultant right here at the Elevate Collective. I will see you all next week. Until then, shoulder rolls for everyone. Shoulder rolls for leadership. Enjoy this weather. Ta-ta for now, y'all. All right, Facebook, you always get the last shoulder roll. Yes, I'll see y'all next week.